All right. Welcome to episode 2 of Zooming with Dan. It was certainly a big thrill last week to kick things off with Eric Kelly, one of our incredible advisors and team leader. And I certainly want to thank all those people who tuned in and engaged with us. It was certainly a big thrill for the first episode to be a success and for everything to work. I'm certainly not a big tech whiz, so it was a bit of a relief, and here we are for week 2. Eric was amazing, as usual. Everyone that knows him certainly knows he's an incredible human and incredible at what he does, and he certainly provided great insight into the MND Victoria advisor service and all the work they all do to provide the best possible care and support to all Victorians living with MND. For tonight's chat, I'm privileged to have Deb Olive with me. Hello, Deb.
Hello, Dan. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Deb is our coordinator of volunteer programs. Like Eric, is brilliant at what she does, and is equally an amazing person. And I think we're all thrilled to have her on our team at MND Victoria. As we all know and recognise, volunteers are an integral part of so many organisations all around Victoria, Australia, and obviously the world. It's no different here at MND Victoria. In fact, MND Victoria began nearly 39 years ago as an organisation run solely by volunteers. To this day, we couldn't operate the way we do without our volunteers. Probably enough from me for now. So, Deb, tell us a little bit about your role and what our volunteers do within our organisation.
Okay, thank you for that. And it's great to be here tonight as well. So my role, I think Daniel sometimes says he's got the best role in the organisation, but I dispute that. I think mine is. So my role is really to work across the organisation to involve people from our community who would like to support the work of MND Victoria. So that's working with volunteers across our organisation, and we're very, very fortunate to have approximately 120 volunteers who support us on a regular basis as our regular volunteers. And then we have a number of other people who volunteer for us for special events and for community events, as well as one-off volunteers as well. So we have a huge number of volunteers across the state, and it's brilliant.
And just out of, I guess, those volunteers, how many have a personal connection to MND? Because as we all know, MND, it's a horrible disease, and it certainly lasts a lifetime in those left behind after losing a loved one. And I do know a lot of our volunteers have a pretty strong connection to the disease.
It is really remarkable that, given the experience of supporting somebody with MND, the majority of our volunteers are people who are currently supporting somebody who is living with MND or who have lost somebody to MND. And that takes a huge amount of courage to front up, I guess, to support the organisation. But it also says heaps, I think, about the regard that people have for the organisation, that they want to come back and contribute and to make a difference to people's lives.
Yeah, we have many, many different roles. As we go on throughout our discussion today, we can probably elaborate a bit more, but do you want to give a bit of a general overview on the different types of roles that we have?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, the organisation was started by a group of really committed people who volunteered their time to make a difference for people living with MND. And I guess there are a number of key areas that our volunteers are involved in, and our support groups would probably be one of those original groups as well. So we currently have a number of support groups where people living with MND are able to come together on a regular basis and meet and share experiences and stories, and also contribute to events in their local organisations. So support groups is one key area, and we currently have 5 support groups across the state. But then we have volunteers who are in roles where they're actually working closely with people living with MND. So we have a number of roles there, which I can talk a little bit about. And then we have a whole range of volunteers who help us out with program support, or what I like to call program support. So behind the scenes, if you like, supporting the organisation to do what it does. And then still others help us out with events and fundraising and things like our Walk to Defeat MND. So turn up every year to help us with those events, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and I know from my perspective and our team in the supported development team, we work so closely with a number of different volunteers, whether it's reception or our amazing merchandise volunteers. We couldn't do what we do without them. So I guess that's a bit of a segue into the current situation, the COVID-19 challenges. We touched on it last week with Eric and how our staff are coping. How are our volunteers coping, by not coming into the office on a weekly basis, or they're obviously not able to visit their clients with MND. And I know you're doing a good job keeping in touch. So yeah.
Yeah, and we made the decision some weeks ago now to be very cautious, and at that stage we did withdraw our volunteers from direct client support roles. So our massage volunteers and our life story volunteers and our visitor volunteers are unable to visit with clients face to face. Similarly, our volunteers who would normally be in the office every day of the week doing various roles, we called a halt to that for the time being as well. And we have been working really, really hard to stay in contact with our volunteers, to let them know what's happening within the organisation, and to let them know that we're still working. A lot of our volunteers are still working remotely, so some roles have always been remote from the organisation, so those volunteers have been able to continue in those roles. And for other roles, we're actually been creating a few new roles as well, or transferring roles from face-to-face to using Zoom a lot, or other technologies for people to stay in contact. And a lot of our volunteers have just taken it upon themselves to maintain contact with their clients that they've been seeing, and they're ringing them and they're Zooming with them themselves, or they're even writing letters and doing those sort of old-fashioned things.
Can't beat some old-fashioned.
That's right, old-fashioned.
It's a bit beyond me. Yeah, look, I know you were doing a great job keeping in touch with them, and I had the pleasure of dropping into a Zoom meeting last week with our some of our reception volunteers. I know plenty do keep in touch on our Facebook, and there'll be a number watching now. So hello to you all.
Hello, everybody.
I guess, you said before you think you have the best job in the organisation. I won't fight you for it, but I still think I do. Tell me some of the most rewarding things about, I guess, working with volunteers in general, and then working with our volunteers. What's amazing for you?
Okay. For me, it is the opportunity to see the generosity that people have, and the skills and the abilities and the time that people are willing to share to support others in their community. And that is a remarkable thing when we see often in the community that people are very concerned about themselves. I think, the sharing, the willingness to give of people's skills and experience to others is very, very special, and that's certainly something that I really enjoy about my role, is helping people to find a way that they can be meaningfully involved to make a difference to others. And it's just really interesting getting to meet a whole range of people from different backgrounds and different experiences who want to come together in an organisation like MND Victoria. Yeah, so those are some of the highlights. Some of the challenges are when you have an organisation that is statewide, is keeping people feeling connected and engaged, and being able to offer people the types of volunteer role or engagement that they want to. There's a saying in the volunteer sector that people come for the cause and stay for the community. So it really is about making sure that our volunteers have that sense of what they contribute to the organisation and how very important they are to it, but also a sense of connection with each other and with the staff and with the bigger picture of what we're doing.
Yeah, and one thing I find quite remarkable, I guess, is the longevity of so many of our volunteers. I know we don't want to really go into individuals because all our volunteers are incredible, but we have so many volunteers that have been with us for 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30 years.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
Amazing.
Yeah, that level of ongoing commitment is just amazing. Yeah.
So volunteers, a lot of people might just assume you can ring up an organisation and become a volunteer like that, but there are so many, I guess, policies and procedures and to follow, and it's something I think we do so well, and you obviously do really well. And it's not just a case of ringing up and becoming a volunteer with M&D Victoria. So tell us a little bit about the process. It's like applying for a job at times. Yeah,
well, it is in many respects, and so I guess the bottom line for me is making sure that when people offer to volunteer, we acknowledge and say thank you for that, but that we also go through a process of helping people find the right role for them, and for us to make sure we find the right people for our volunteer roles as well. So, from our discussion, you can tell that our volunteer roles are broad. They carry with them a real level of responsibility for many of our roles. And for some people need particular skills or experience as well. So my role is really to engage people in that discussion about what is it that you have to offer as a volunteer, and what do you want to offer as a volunteer, and where best can we utilise what you have to offer within the organisation to make sure that it's a valuable experience for you as a volunteer and for the organisation as well. So we have those sorts of discussions. We go through a process of applying, so it is an application form, and we also go through a process of checks as well. So obviously when we're working in a not-for-profit organisation and when we're working with people in their communities, we need to ensure that we've done a whole series of checks, and that applies for staff and for volunteers. And so we go through a number of checks before we will offer people a position as a volunteer.
Yep, beautiful. And speaking of roles, let's dive a little deeper into what we do. And I thought we might start with our face-to-face volunteers. Obviously, at the moment, they're not able to go and visit, but what do the volunteers that actually work with people with M&D do? What do their roles entail?
Yeah. So one of the programs, I guess, that's one of our largest programs is a massage program where we have a large number of volunteers who are trained to provide gentle hand and foot massage to people living with MND. And so those people aren't necessarily, they don't come to us with experience or skills in massage, but they come to us with a willingness to connect with people, and then we provide training in the processes, the art of gentle hand and foot massage, with the intention that that is something that a client might enjoy, might find relaxation and comfort from. Yeah, so that's one of our big programs. We have a visitor program as well, so we can match clients and volunteers to just spend some time together in social conversation, sharing experiences and interests, and they might meet regularly, weekly, fortnightly. It might be at the client's home or place of residence, and it might be even going into the community to do, things that are of joint interest to them. So visitor program is really important, and our Life Stories program as well, where another group of volunteers actually will sit with people and record their life story and help us to publish that up and provide that back to our clients and to their families as well. And that's, again, a really valuable program, which many of our volunteers say it's a real privilege to be involved in. So those are key client contact roles. We also have been very fortunate in the past to have a number of professional hairdressers as well, who will actually go into people's homes and provide people with a haircut if they're not able to get out and access their regular hairdresser. So those are some of the programs that we've got.
All very beneficial and rewarding to, I guess, both volunteer and person with MND. I guess one big question is, how do you match volunteers up with those with MND? Because that's obviously could be a little bit tricky in terms of location or personality, age. Talk me through that.
Yeah, so that's when we work really closely with our MND advisors. So the MND advisors know their clients very, very well and are talking with them all the time about what it is that they need or would like to have access to. So when a client mentions to their MND advisor that they would like to access one of our volunteer programs, then the MND advisor gets in contact with me. And we then go through a process of problem solving, I guess it is, of finding a volunteer in a local area who might be able to support that particular client. And then through a period of discussion, we will organise a meeting where we will introduce that client and that volunteer with the view to them making the decision as to whether they feel they can work together on a regular basis. So yeah, it really is a process that we go through, and my part is to try and introduce volunteers and clients who I think will match up, and to be there to help problem solve. If those initial matches aren't okay, then we keep working. Yeah,
that was a big part of your daily job, and clearly a good matchmaker. I touched on a few of the roles that we have within the office earlier, but as I said, the supported development team work very closely with our merchandise volunteers, event volunteers throughout the year, and obviously our receptionists, who are the first point of call. But there are certainly other roles, and if you can touch on those, and one group in particular who are our newsletter packing group, who come in every 6 or 7 weeks, and 2 months, I think it is. Yep. They're a bit of a party group, but I know they're a bit of fun, and we all look forward to the day they come in.
Yeah, we love having the MND News group come in, and they would usually come in and spend the morning or the day packaging up and sending out MND News to everybody who wants to receive that. And unfortunately, this month we weren't able to have them in the office, but we've done a workaround, and MND News has made it out to everybody who normally receives it. And we will look forward to getting our team back in as soon as we possibly can to work on MND News.
And they didn't get
They
didn't get your fabulous baking that you do every 2 months that all the staff try and dig into.
Well, I think the news team are pretty fabulous bakers, actually. Yeah. So behind the scenes there with MND News as well, we have a couple of volunteers who help us out every issue. One who helps us with editing and putting together the newsletter, and then another one of our volunteers actually works to prepare the MND News to go onto our website. So these are really important roles for volunteers who are using their professional expertise behind the scenes to help things happen. We have volunteers who support our information and resources team as well, helping out with information sessions, helping out putting together kits that our MND advisors take out to clients when they go and visit them as well. And we also have a lot of volunteers who we get involved in particular projects. So when we've got work that needs to be done on a particular project, we will identify and work with volunteers to help us often on those projects, which is really, really valuable. Means that we have a lot of scope to get a lot of work done in a very small organisation.
Yeah, awesome. One role which we haven't touched on yet, and is certainly something that's could be very tough, but it's also a role that would be very rewarding and highly skilled, is our bereavement calling volunteers. Can you talk a little bit about that small team and the amazing work that they do?
Yeah. So our bereavement caller volunteers are a small team, but a really, really important team. And those volunteers are people who have been with our organisation for some time. All have had a personal experience with a loved one with MND and have now put their hands up to actually make a call to a family member who has lost somebody with MND in the months soon after that person's passing. And it's a touch, I guess it's a point of touch where our volunteer makes contact and lets family member know that we're thinking of them and gives them the opportunity to talk about how they're doing and whether they need any more support from us or from other organisations as well. So it's a very, very special role. And again, the feedback from our volunteers who are involved in that program is what a privilege it is to be in that role. So yeah, thank you to that team as well.
Very special. I guess before we go on to the next point, I just got a little comment from Tasha saying, she wishes there was organisations like this in other states, and I can assure Tasha and everyone else that there is an MND state association in your state. There's definitely one everywhere. So get in touch with whether it's New South Wales, Queensland, Tassie, SA, WA. They're all great teams and they've all got volunteer programs. So can assure everyone that this service is available throughout the country, throughout the relevant state associations. I guess one common question you get is, how do you become a volunteer? What's the process? If they believe they have a certain skill, what should they do? Or if they're not sure what they can do?
Yep.
Talk us through that.
Yeah, look, if somebody is interested in finding out a little bit more about volunteer opportunities with us, or just to talk about an interest in volunteering, I can certainly be contacted at the MND Victoria office number 98302122, or you can email volunteer@mnd.asn.au and I will get back in contact with you and we can follow up your interest and explore whether we have opportunities for you and how that might look.
Yeah, certainly many different roles, and whether you're Melbourne based or rural based, the roles don't necessarily vary, except for the office roles, obviously. But there are people with MND spread out all over Victoria that often do require that extra helping hand with a volunteer. So if you are keen, jump on board. The team it's amazing, and I think all our volunteers are very special people, and we're all so thankful for them all. Look, I think you've covered the volunteer program up exceptionally well. If people have any more questions, please just comment on the comment section, or you can get on to Deb via our phone number or the volunteers' email. We're all still working, always on Zoom calls, aren't we, Deb?
Oh, yeah.
We're getting good at technology. So I think that's all for tonight. Looking forward to Next week, we do have next week's guests confirmed. We are branching out a little bit and having 2 guests, 2 Sarahs. We have Sarah Solomon from Calvary, and one of our newer advisors, Sarah Wilkie. So we're very much looking forward to it'll be a very fun chat, put it that way, next week. So both very good at what they do. But thank you, Deb, for tonight. It's been a privilege, like I said at the start. And yeah, any questions, please get in touch.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.